finally getting back to me, my art. All I want to do is art. And the other thing is that I love stories. So like to me, art is in everything. Your art is your voice, your speaking, your connection. You can feel everyone's energy. That's your art. It's the art of living to me. So art and hustle to me is the art of living and art of it and everything.
I hope that you cut that piece right there and make it your intro and your outro, because that was dope.
Good morning.
Good morning. The crazy thing is, right, my alarm just went off on my phone that this was supposed to be 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was supposed to be at 11.
Oh.
I had it all messed up, but it's okay.
No, you know what? I woke up, I saw your text, and I was like in bed. I was gonna watch my edit I did last night in bed, just like, oh, what should I have for breakfast? What am I gonna do today? And then you text me, and I was like, holy shit. Let me hurry up, make some coffee, make some breakfast. And I was like, all right, I mean, like, all I need is some eyeliner, some lipstick. I'll do my makeup on the screen. I was like, I'm good, I'm ready. So I was like, holy shit. Well, thank God you text me.
I'm looking at my phone and it chimes. It's like 12 o'clock. I was like, 12 o'clock?
Oh.
I was a little early.
Well, I mean, honey, you look fabulous.
Listen, this was the birthday transition.
I love it. It looks fabulous. Here's the funny, ironic thing is that I had told Dave, I don't know, like a few, maybe like months ago, I've always had this vision where I want to shave the side of my head. Isn't that funny?
You have to do it. You have to do it.
Did you do it to both sides?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've been wanting to do it for a while, and Dave's like, really? I was like, yeah, I don't know why. I just want to shave the sides of my head.
It's liberating. My sides have been shaved probably about the last 8 years. And so I've grown out different iterations of haircuts. So when you saw me before, it was longer.
Yeah.
And I cut it shorter. Before that, it was like longer down my back and chopped it up a little bit higher. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It reminds me of the fact that like I don't have to be stuck in how the world defines beauty and style and fashion and all of those things. So for me, when you living in the suburbs, you got to find some way to like.
Well, I mean, I'm with you, girl. I'm in Staten Island, so I'm trying to live it up in my garage here. But I mean, I love these candid conversations. I want to welcome you again to the Art and Hustle Gallery of Conversations.
With Smith.
Yeah. What was I was reading something on the screen there. Did it just change?
It changed. Yeah, I changed it to Dr. I mean, it's just easier because the Dr. Smith. I feel like I'm like at a meeting or something, and
I think it's
ask me something.
Yeah. Well, I think it's hysterical. It's Dr. Smith. I think it's awesome because, like, technically, if they didn't know what race you were and they saw just Dr. Smith, they'd be like, "Oh, I didn't realize that." If like my name was Smith or something, they'd be like, "What?"
Yeah. I tell people all the time, I traded in one slave name for another. So.
Oh my God. There was a show, I forgot what it was, I think it was Seinfeld, where they had started talking to someone I think Seinfeld started talking to someone on the phone, and he thought he was talking to an Asian woman. And so he got excited that he was going to go have a date with, Jane Chung or something. And he's like, oh, I'm so excited. I think they went to like an Asian Chinese restaurant. And then when a white girl showed up with blonde hair or brown hair, he's like, you're not a Chung, you're not Asian. I've been duped. He's like, I wanted the Asian.
I'll tell you, it's my last name. I went from a Scott to a Smith. It was like,
yeah. I mean, I was also what do you call it? There was another person I was speaking to, and she's been doing a lot of Broadway shows with the name escapes me right now, but she also had a slave name that was originally Eartha Kitt. So her original name was Keith, but then it turned to Kitt.
Yeah. Well, look, that it worked out for her, but it's unfortunate that that's how we have to think about it.
Yeah. That's a whole conversation right there about Eartha Kitt, man. I was just watching some documentaries about her, and it's like just crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Eartha Kitt, Lena Horne, Dorothy Dandridge, they have such amazing stories.
Yeah, I think we should definitely I feel like we could have topics and podcasts like every day about stuff, me and you. We can just continue these conversations. Maybe we need to do a little like mini series, I think.
Listen, if the people want it, we'll just, yes, I'm down.
I think that would be dope, right? All right, so let's talk about the one topic originally. I wanted to talk about relationships with you today, but obviously since the Will Smith situation just happened, I wanted to get your point of view about that. Unless you don't want to.
No, it's so interesting. People have talked so much about it ad nauseum.
Yeah.
I think at this point, for me, it's really about how can we as a community help these two men heal?
Yeah.
In a way that doesn't have us as outside participants standing in judgment of either one of them, right? And I think that's what happens. We see things, I was talking to a girlfriend about this. We see things that happen in the world. And naturally, we're human beings. I like to say we're judginators, right? Like our initial is to like judge and have an opinion and project and immediately ascribe right and wrong. And that's natural.
Yeah.
We tend to forget, though, the human experience in all of it.
Exactly.
There's a human experience that's happening that we have no context. We have no understanding. We are totally unclear.
Yep.
And so we ascribe an opinion based on like a snippet of information.
Yeah.
And so for me at this point, when people ask me about it, I tell people like, use the same, I don't want to say judgment, use the same review of the situation that you give for them, use it for yourself in your personal life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if what you think was done on either end was wrong and horrible, and both of them should take responsibility, and both of them have, you're right. You need to stop and ask yourself, where in my life have I either slapped somebody physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, or I overstepped the line with a joke or a comment, or either way, where in my life have I done those things? And there's nobody out there with their finger pointing at me like, you need to be.
And also people need to realize, like, what were you thinking? What mental state were you in when that happened? Because honestly, that's a huge part of it also. And people don't realize, like, what part of your life are you in, and what happened, and what happened in your past of generational trauma, all the things that you're unpacking. Because my point of view of it is with compassion and empathy, because I've been watching
for both of them.
Yes, for both of them, definitely. I've been watching Will Smith for a long time, and I saw a little bit about Chris Rock. I need to look into more about him, but I can only, come with it with empathy and compassion, because I can see where Will Smith was coming from, because I was watching his documentary where he was trying to write his book, and then he was also trying to do another show about losing 30 pounds in 30 days. So, he's very like focused, like, when I have something to do, I am going to hit that target. I'm going to be able to accomplish that goal. I mean, if you look at his father, he was very strict and very militant of like, you need to do this. You go out, when I tell you to go do something, don't come back unless you get that done. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that you're dead or something, right? Yeah. So he's gone through such a hard, probably childhood, that has transitioned into relationships, adulthood, how he treats his kids. And when you write your book or anything like that, you're unpacking so much stuff. And as a male, you probably haven't even touched any of those feelings in centuries, right? Haven't even looked into those things. So I feel like when he started unpacking all of his past and then doing that movie with King Richard, you can see he's come undone. unfortunately. And, you know, he was going through a lot of emotional stuff. And unfortunately, that was a trigger. It wasn't about Chris Rock at all, probably, you know, or it could have been, whatever it is, but he was triggered. And unfortunately that happened. And, you know, people just need to try to see it with compassion.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too, you know, what I've heard from a lot of people, because I have a similar take initially that you had.
Yeah.
Mine was compassion for both of them.
Yeah.
And I think in this society, we treat things as either black or white.
Yeah.
All or nothing.
And it's never like that. Never.
It's never like that, because you can actually still have compassion for Will Smith and agree that what he did was wrong.
Totally.
Right?
Like, I don't believe in violence. There's you should not have done that on TV in front of millions of people.
Yeah. I mean, we can agree that that wasn't the best way for him to handle it, and still have compassion for him, and still have compassion for Chris Rock, who does have his own baggage and his own traumas, you know, growing up in Brooklyn and New York and being bullied when he was young. So I think sometimes in our society, and this is a lot of the work that I do, which is why I love having these conversations with you, is we as human beings have so much work to do on ourselves. It's so much easier to pick apart somebody else's work. So one of the things I kept hearing this week is like, I hope he's getting help. And my retort from many people was, I hope you're getting help too. Like, what are we talking about? Y'all?
Exactly. I mean, honestly, you can't keep pointing the world. You got to look in yourself, right?
As if he is the only person that is worthy of getting work. We all are. We all are carrying around, and my husband uses you know, more flowery language. But he calls, you know, the bag of everyone has everyone is carrying around a secret bag of
Hilo.
On their back. And every no matter how much air freshener you try to spray on it, every now and then that joint starts to smell. And people around you start to smell it too. Like, so what are you going to do? Are you going to continue to spray more stuff on?
Which is what everybody does. Like, you cover it up with like sex, alcohol, you know, whatever it is, work, you know,
whatever your vice is.
What the vices that we continue to do to cover it up, right? Like Chris Rock, I saw a video where he was talking about how he had to get over that fear of getting bullied and someone attacking him.
I think all of these are opportunities for us as human beings to not focus on the person and what the consequences are, because that was my other challenge with the conversation. We are such a punitive society. We are a society that is riddled with, you know, we have the highest incarceration rate. We are constantly, because somewhere deep inside of our DNA, in this country at least, there is a need and a desire to see people be punished, right? If you're not punished, then I don't really know whether you got the consequences. And so that type of thinking, it seeps into our schools. And, you know, we have the school to prison pipeline and all of those things. And I think we forget that there are natural consequences. Will Smith and Chris Rock are experiencing natural consequences. They're experiencing social consequences. But some way, somehow, we have this belief that, well, if we don't show people that their behavior was wrong, then they're just going to go do it again, and then everyone's going to go and do the same thing. And I don't necessarily ascribe to that. I don't. I think natural consequences sometimes are more effective than the other consequences that we give people. I think the natural consequences that Will Smith is experiencing from his behavior, and even to some degree that Chris Rock is experiencing, I think those consequences are going to have far more lasting effects on them emotionally, mentally, spiritually, than any type of slap on the wrist that anyone else is going to give them.
And I really believe that natural consequences, like, you have to unpack all of that stuff, and you have to start figuring out how to heal within. And that is honestly true. That's one thing I had to go through, was like, stop, like the trust issue from before. Like, I had to stop going outward of like, I don't trust, you know, I don't trust men, I don't trust people, I don't, you know, but all of that stems from like a childhood trauma that unconsciously keeps following me around of trust issues, you know? So I had to actually get to a point where, you know what? I need to learn how to trust myself.
Oh, that's so good.
And that's a huge one. I think that's my last step in, you know, being able to fly freely. Like, you know, I'm flying and I don't even realize that. And when you said it, and as I edit these videos, which I think is a beautiful process for me now, as I edit them, I hear what other people say and I rehear what I say. And as you keep hearing it, you're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that I do these goals and then I don't see anything else in my life. All I see is the goal. Like my main goal before was always to not be a starving artist. But that didn't include what I wanted, what I needed, what, you know, it didn't include anything else. It was just make sure you're just not a starving artist.
Oh, can I help you unpack that? So here's what we do as human beings.
Yeah.
We talk about what we don't want.
Yeah.
So how you said the goal was, I'm not going to be a starving artist. I'm not going to be a starving artist. We're usually in reaction to something we don't want. And then what that does is we can't create what we do want.
Yes.
So a lot of times when my husband and I, when we work with couples and we ask them like, what's your relationship vision? That's one of the questions we ask couples. And, you know, they'll start saying, well, we don't want this. We don't want this. We don't want this. And then we're like, well, stop for a minute.
Yeah.
We don't want to know what you don't want.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah.
And it takes couples a long time because we've lived as human beings so often in resistance to what we don't want. So
and that's like a survival flight or flight mode that we're constantly in. And I realized that I've been in constant fight or flight ever since probably 5 years old. Yeah.
That's crazy awareness, Linda. Like
this funny thing is that I was speaking to Mr. Schiavo, and he's just fascinated by our conversations and fascinated the development of who I am as a woman now. And he's just like, Linda, how did you become so wise? You know, and I feel like
I lived some life, bruh.
Yeah, and I find it funny, and honestly, yeah, it's life. Life has been a huge thing for me, and just listening to all of these amazing people online that, you know, teach you all these things, but life, people, friends, just all of it. Like I'm an old soul like you, and I've learned many lessons in this lifetime and probably lots of lessons in the past lifetime that has brought me to where I am now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I love the growth, right? That's the piece that I find, I like to say it's sexy, right? It's the messy stuff when you learn, right? So for one of the revelations that I got, I kept leaving jobs, right? And I learned for myself that I'm not a stay at a job for a long time. I like to get in, I like to make change, and I like to be on to the next.
Yeah.
But some of the impetus or reasons why I would leave is because somebody was getting on my nerves.
Okay.
And so I would always be like, I got to get away from that. I got to get away from that. I got to get away from that. But I would walk into similar situations that eventually.
Same thing. Yeah, the same lesson, same person. Life is going to keep bringing you the same thing. So you learn that lesson, it's just going to keep bringing it up
over and over again. And I went to a training probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And this woman, the trainer, I walked up to the front of the room because I wanted to share something. And I walked up and she literally like ripped me apart. Not in a bad way, but in front of a room of like 150 people.
Oh, that's it. Just 100.
Yeah, it was just 150 people. Just my total life and soul, on display.
Yeah. That's it. Right? That's it. Yeah.
And it was funny because she asked me tough questions. And one of the questions, she was like, when are you going to decide what you're running to as opposed to what you're running away from?
And you're probably like, oh my God.
I was like, I'm going to go sit down now and sit with that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go work on this.
Don't call me up to the front again. I'm good.
Oh,
we're constantly running away instead of running towards.
Yeah, this is a great quote that from this new person that I've been following and watching a lot of videos on, Peter Crone. He said, life will present you with people and circumstances to reveal where you are not free. And I love quotes. Like that's one of my healing things. And that I'm always writing quotes from people that just like spark that like, oh, aha moment, you know, like, wow, I love that. And eventually, you know, compile them all together into a book, you know?
So don't, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like people watching this will probably think we have this planned and we really don't. You know, I do the exact same thing. I have journals in my room. I could go and get them for you right now. Journals from years ago. Every time I hear a quote or I see a quote or whatever, I write it down, and my journals are called notable quotables.
Oh my God.
Some of the quotes are in my book, Spiritually Woke.
Well, so first of all, let's stop right there because I love the title already.
Mm-hmm. All life lessons.
The title is spectacular,
mm-hmm.
and it needs to be published.
Well, listen, we probably need to just put your quotes, my quotes, put them together.
Yes.
With the life lessons and say,
oh my God, see, like people will present you with people that, you know, are supposed to be in this journey, because I mean, I find it honestly fascinating. People who don't know, we've only started talking. We've only reconnected people
during the pandemic.
During the pandemic, and almost after 29 years of like not talking since Sunrise here left high school and told nobody. Where did Sunrise go? I don't know. She left. She graduated. She went to college. What? What do you mean she's in college, right? Like, I don't know. So everybody, we are just doing this now after all these years, and we've actually realized we've been going through the same journey.
Yeah.
And I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to reconnect here and realize those like synchronicities there, right? That's beautiful.
Oh, yeah. And you know, life will have you connect with people at the time when they're supposed to connect.
Right?
Yeah, that was my inspirational blog for today that I sent out. Don't miss divine connections.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, we miss our divine connections because we are so focused on something looking perfect that we miss the divinity that's right in front of us.
Yes.
Right in front of us.
That's a huge thing too, of like, I have a crayon story that I have to tell. So when I was a kid, I was coloring a crayon book with my sister, and my sister colored her crayon book really beautifully, where she would take a perfectly sharpened crayon, draw the outline, and then color it in. And I was like, that's beautiful. It's perfect. I want to do the same thing. And as a kid, I would do the same thing, mess up, and try, you know, ask my parents for some money, go down to the stationery store, get another one. And I think I did this a couple of times, where finally as a kid I realized, you know, I can't keep doing that. Like I can't keep getting stuck on that perfection part, because then I'm never going to be able to create. So I had to decide as a kid that I'm going to just embrace the chaos of something, just turn the page and just be like, okay, I'm just going to keep creating. I can't get stuck on this beauty of things. And that has like transitioned into everything I create now art wise, is that I embrace the beauty of the collage and the mistakes and whatever. And I just transition it into something else. Like, I made a bad drawing. It's terrible. It's okay. You just change it up. You just add a little bit here, add a little bit there, and then it becomes this beautiful thing. Or tear something else out. You know, because like that's how life is. Life is messy, and the hardest part is just really starting.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing as podcasts. Like the hardest part is starting, and then seeing yourself on camera and realizing, oh, I look terrible. My background's terrible. My lighting's terrible. I don't want to post this because it's terrible. And I now have to edit all of these. Like Dave told me how to edit, and I was like, this is a hard job to do all of these edits. Like it's a huge task. So like it's a lot of work. So like after I did a couple, I was like, you know what? I need a break. I'm not really happy with what I've done yet. I'll post it, but I'm not really happy. Like, you know, like we're kind of like perfectionists of like worrying about things being so pretty and perfect to put it out there to the world, that many of us just stop. So that's a tip for me, is just start and figure it out as you go along. and you'll figure out your way. Like just keep going, because it's not going to be pretty all the time. You just got to keep going. And there's beauty in, you know, like I always loved like this beauty in the imperfections. It's like controlled chaos of it all. So it's okay, just keep going.
You know what too? Oh, these are such good conversations, Linda.
I know, like we can do this you know, every week. We're gonna have to start a little, you know, series.
A little something.
Because
language is so important. Language rules our lives. I had a mentor about 10 years ago, Betty Spruill, and I can't even remember the book at this point, but she had me read this book, and I read it on a plane, and it was all about words. All about the power of words. So as you're talking, I'm hearing you say, you know, you got to take the good and the bad. And that's what we do, right? We ascribe language to situations. And and the moment we change our language about it, we will change our perspective about it. Right. And so even like our journeys that we've gone through in the moment, right? When we look back, it's like, was it really bad? Was it the best thing because I wouldn't be who I am now?
It was a lesson. It was just a lesson that had to be learned. Everything's a lesson.
Everything is a lesson. It's funny because I don't have a traditional style. My husband and I don't have a traditional style of parenting for that reason. I don't want my children to be married to the letter that someone puts on the page. I don't want and I understand, because, you know, somebody's probably going to comment and be like, well, that's the society that we live in.
Well, everybody has a point of view, just like everyone has a bleep.
That's right.
You know what that word is, right?
But for me, I want my children to have a sense of self-confidence and integrity about their work. So I've always told my children, if you do your best and your best is a C, then I would prefer a C that you did your best than an A that you cheated on. And it's you know, it's the language that we use to be able to, you know what I mean? Help us to grow as human beings and not human doings.
Like that's what you know, like I'm the atypical Asian, you know, like not a tiger mom. I kind of just like, you know, as long as you guys did your best, I mean, like, as long as you're not failing. And a lot of times it's funny, like the kids will always have teacher parent conference. And I'm always like, listen, unless you're failing, I really don't need to talk to your teacher. and they're little, they're like 11 or 12. I'm like, listen, unless you're failing, there's no need. Obviously, I know who you are. As long as I don't hear something from the teacher saying that you've been disruptive in class and doing something wrong, I'm assuming that you're doing good. Your grades are good, so we're good. And
it's all made up, girl. It's all made up. It's all made up. Like
all of it. It's so funny as you get older, and then you're like, you know what, like, I'm starting to like unpack all of this and start like seeing the holes and everything. And you're like, oh my God, like now I'm like, you know what? I don't even know if I believe in college anymore. Like at this point, I'm like, you just need to learn how to start a business and make sure you know how to operate social media and all of these other things, like how to start a YouTube.
Pay your taxes.
Pay your taxes, all the fundamentals that we probably don't learn in school, you know, taxes, budgeting, money, you know, how to,
Girl, my daughter, we had a whole conversation about that a couple weeks ago. We were talking about the math classes that are taught right now. Come on, Linda, how much of that math do you use?
I don't know jack shit. I'm sorry.
I don't know any of it.
I don't know any of it. No.
When my children come to me, they're in high school and they come to ask for help. I was like, ask Google. Ask Alexa. Ask Bixby. You got three.
There's a math photo app too, right? I think it's photo math or I don't know what it is, but there's like, I was like,
somebody's created there's something out there. I don't know any of it. And we were laughing because my daughter was like, but we don't know how to budget our money. We don't know how to save. We don't know how to invest.
You need to know how to do percentages because they want to do percentages of sales at store, which is all a hoax anyway, you know. All of that's a hoax. Like, it's a sale. It's a sale. No, it's really not a real sale unless it's like off 90% of the ticket price. It's really not a sale because the manufacturers have already, you know, calculated everything on it to make you think, oh my God, it's 50% off. It's a sale. No, they've already calculated all of that into the profit margins of it to bring you into the store.
You just burst the bubble.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm in manufacturing. I was in fashion. So that's why I'm going to tell people the truth. That's how you get the truth.
We didn't want that truth.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Unless it's like super cheap. Also, name brands. Here's another truth. Name brands, and you know, all of that's a big crock of shit too, because it's all coming from the same factory. Just
they're just putting a different tag in the back.
Yeah, it's just different labeling. So you people who are buying things that are super expensive, it's just an all marketing hoax. So unfortunately. But anyway, let's go back to relationships.
Now that we've ruined people's day as they were like preparing to shop for the hot, you know.
Oh my God. I think what we do with these podcasts, we can just talk about anything. I mean, really, you know, just random conversations.
I think it's all comical and people will learn so much from us.
I mean, people love to hear conversations and what people are talking about. And as the tangents go, it's, you know, it's the laughter of it. It's the, you know, realness of it. And I think that's honestly more fun than having such a structure of like, okay, I'm going to read you this, you know, question and you're going to answer it. Like it gets too like,
too rigid.
It's too rigid. It's too tight. Yeah. So I had downloaded your, I think you had something with like relationship.
The 14-day romance challenge.
Yes. Is that what you, that was, I didn't read all of it yet, but that was great. But what are you working on now with your Sundays that you guys are doing?
Oh,
how you started those Sundays. Yeah,
we see our clients on weekends, and we usually, my husband and I, we usually debrief at the end of the weekend on a Sunday, and we go over all of our clients. You know, where are they? What are the themes that came up? Are there any consistent themes that came up across clients? Is there anything that we need to do? Is anything that's occurring, can it assist more than one? And so a couple of weeks ago, we were like, you know what, this one particular theme came up and we were like, I'm sure our clients aren't the only ones dealing with this. Yeah. And we went on live and we started having the conversation, and you were there. Other topics and questions came up. Yeah. So really, it's an opportunity for just really honest and fun conversation about relationships. Yeah. And why did you start the live feeds? Well, we really wanted to be able to share and reach a broader audience, right? So okay. There was a need for it, you said, right? Yeah, there's definitely a need for it. I think a lot of couples suffer in silence. Yeah. I think a lot of couples assume if they need help, something's wrong with their relationship. Especially like different races and different colors. Like we weren't taught as a kid to go get help. To go get help, get therapy, or talk about your feelings at all. Or talk your business, right? You know that. Yes. Who did you tell outside the house? Nobody. This is why we haven't talked in 30 years. I mean, we're both very, like this is what I'm feeling, but we're not going to talk about it. Let's just keep moving. Yeah. A lot of couples, they don't talk about it. Yeah. And they're afraid. And I think during the pandemic, I know during the pandemic, our work definitely went up. Oh, okay. Because more couples were coming to us. Yeah. And it was the same thing. It wasn't that the relationship was broken at all. Mm-hmm. It's just that sometimes when you're growing, you get stuck in your gap space. I like to call them the gap spaces, those spaces where you don't want to be where you are, but you're not quite sure where you're going. Yeah. Yeah. That chrysalis that we talked about last time. It's like that gap space. And I think as an individual, when you're in a gap space and you're not clear how to articulate your gap space, it can come off as, just the things, the tensions that rise in relationships. Yeah. And if you don't have a mediator to help you all sift away through it and talk it through, it's all in fun too. Yes. So many times in relationships, we take ourselves so serious, and we take ourselves serious because we're watching IG, we're watching TikTok, we're watching Facebook, and
Trying to
we're
be perfect.
listen.
There's no such thing. Yeah, there's no such thing as perfection.
No, no, and perfect is boring. Please.
Yeah, that's why, you know, shave the head.
Shave the head.
Yeah.
You know,
celebrate your see this here's another similarity, right, where we both realize we both have the tattoo on our arm there. We're like, oh my god,
look at that,
oh my god.
And most people would be like, anybody who probably knew me from my past or knew me like, I'm an ordained minister. I preached for my mom, I was raised in the church. But I think who we are and who we express ourselves to be inside and outside of relationship is the essence of what God calls us to do on the earth.
And I think it's beautiful that you've come into a space of comfort of who you are and embracing all parts of yourself and not denying those parts of yourself that want to be creative and express and get a tattoo, shave your head, whatever it is that makes you feel, you know, joyful and grateful and happy in your current state. It's beautiful that you can do that and not feel like, oh, I have to be a certain way. I have to like conform and shrink down, like you said before, to, you know, how you thought that you had to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we give each other titles. It goes back to what I was saying about words and languaging. So you hear a word, you hear doctor.
Yeah.
And then we all have this mental file cabinet
of how it should be. Look. Yeah. Right.
Right. Asian wife.
Yeah, exactly.
The download of the file cabinet.
Throw that shit out over there.
Throw it out, burn it, right? Throw it off of a bridge.
Yeah.
Because we're denying our natural inclination or who we are. And I learned, you know, for years, people used to kind of look at me sideways because I was a professional, like, you know, facilitator trainer. So I would train in front of large groups of people and all of that. And I was the type of chick that I would rock a dress and a pair of dope kicks.
Yeah.
And it was unexpected, right? So when I was a trainer for the state of New Jersey for a couple of years. And so I would be training principals from all over the state, and I'd be doing, and I would walk into my trainings with, like, you know, dope pair of high tops. Now from you know, the ankle up.
Yeah.
I probably had on a suit and a shirt, but then my feet, because I needed to be able to be me.
And
it
didn't
change my education. It didn't change my experience, and it didn't change my confidence. It actually made me more confident.
Yeah. Yeah. What age do you think you finally came into all of this? Like your skin, your authenticity, and all of it. When do you think it all came together?
I would probably say it started around 40. I read the book. Listen, I read the book. I recommend everyone read this book. It will change your life. The Year of Yes by Sunne-Ryse.
Yes.
Did I say that in the last one? I probably said
no. I'm saying yes because number one, my start was at 40.
Okay.
Another similarity that we're just gonna have to do a list of things. Like in
the video, we just point like this.
All the little things. Yeah, exactly. The TikTok videos are like, okay, so this is a similarity. This one. Yeah, my journey started at 42. Okay, so I'm just like mind blown, and I love that book also.
And I picked it up. My husband surprised me on my birthday, my 40th, with a trip. So I had no idea. He woke me up. My kids had already packed the bag. I got to the airport. I was like, I don't have anything to read. I'm about to get on the plane. I don't know where I'm going. I didn't know anything.
Oh my God.
In the airport, you know how they have the bookstores in the airport? I go and I see The Year of Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, this looks like a good read. Yeah. I picked it up. I started it on the plane, and I did not put it down until day 2 when it was finished.
Wow.
Every day on the beach.
Yeah. You're like, I need to read this book. Have fun, guys.
I kept reading, and that it was the part, you know, and when I was 40, my head was already shaved by then. But that book helped me to understand I get to no is a complete sentence, and saying no to you just means I'm a yes to me.
Yeah.
So many people hear no and they're like, oh, you're dismissing me. No, I'm actually taking care of me.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing for us women
As
and everybody,
women, mothers.
men, kids, all of it. Yeah, for everybody.
Yeah, particularly I think for us as mothers,
Yeah.
we pour into our kids in a way that is noble and wonderful. But there are times when we forget ourselves.
Yeah, a lot of time we pour till we're completely empty. And then we wonder, why are you not doing this for me? Why are you doing, why, you didn't do this for me. So like we start blaming them when really you should have not completely poured your entire picture out.
Mhm.
And we forget that. Like I said before, like I lost myself in my marriage. I lost it. And I feel like a lot of women do. You just completely give your all into it. And then you realize, oh my God, now I have nothing.
Mm.
And then you have like a midlife crisis at 40.
We all do. When you're out there getting tattoos and
Yeah. Shaving your head or whatever and dyeing your hair blonde,
but my mom has the greatest advice, and I always try to remember it. She says, Sunrise, you give from your saucer, not from your cup.
Well, I love that. We're gonna have to like put it in here, right here.
Right? She says, give from your saucer, right? Like, so
Love
if
it.
you have a teacup and it's the plate underneath the teacup, she said, you give from that, not
Yeah.
from the cup. You give from the overflow.
Yes.
If you have no overflow, you don't really
Yes.
have anything to give anybody.
Exactly. And that's what we all need to learn here. Because like really, if you've given it your all, now you want your husband to fix everything.
Mm.
And now you want your
And
husband
he
to
can't, because he carried around his bag of
shit. No. I'll say it for you since you don't want to say these bad words. Yeah, and then you start blaming everybody. It's like the blame game where you're like, you're not making me happy. You don't do this for me. And my partner really did a good job where we unpacked a lot of things and we're like, no, this is your baggage, this is your stuff. You need to look at on all of it and not keep putting it on me. Like you need to be happy yourself, and then we can come together.
Mhm.
And
I love you, and you can say, and I love you while you're looking through and sifting through your garbage bag.
yeah,
I will love you in it, but I won't be the new place for you to dump it.
yeah.
And that's one of the, a big thing my husband and I, we talk about with couples, that, and I think we started this conversation with compassion.
Yeah.
Right. There, if
and empathy. Yeah.
And compassion and empathy, right? So if you're in relationship and you're not perfect.
Yeah.
You can't have expectations for somebody else to be perfect if you know you're not perfect.
No, not at all.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. But that's sometimes the conversation, because we are I don't want to say unwilling. Sometimes we're unprepared.
Yeah.
To fully be responsible for the stuff that's underneath the surface.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't even want to look at it. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I already aged myself also with my kids the other day. I just put a post on Facebook where I said, you're getting old. I didn't want to write old. I was like, you're getting older when, number one, your friend tells you that this new radio station called 94.7. Have you heard about this? So I'm like, and I put it on in the car and I'm like telling the kids, oh my God, I officially feel older because now I can say like, this is my station right here. This is the oldie station that I'm going to be playing. And then here, number two was I was scrolling through Amazon and I came across this like chapstick holder. And I'm like, oh my God, did I really just think like, oh, this chapstick holder is a good idea? Like, what is wrong with me? Number three, here's the three things that I put up. Number three was that I love a winter boyfriend, which is a mattress heater. You have one?
No, I don't.
Are you always cold?
I am.
Listen.
Mine is yours is the heater. Mine is the weighted blanket. I have a weighted blanket.
You have the weighted blanket, but if you're cold, you might need both of them. Because I've always had a heater in the room, but there'll be like the air will be too dry, the heater will be too loud, and I don't like it. I like to be able to breathe, and I don't want to be breathing in all that heat. So I put on Facebook and I did a survey where I was like, oh, should I get a heated blanket? And then someone on Facebook was like, no, you should get a heated mattress pad. I was like, mine was blown. I was like, I didn't know states had such a thing. So
I'm gonna go look it up as soon as we're done.
I was like, I did that. I got it. And literally it's changed my life. It's the best winter boyfriend ever. And here's the thing, great for marriages. It's dual control.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, because I need that. My husband would hate the heated blanket. He's like, he says, he's like, I'm like a lizard. So he would hate the that
heated mattress pad. Yeah, it's dual control. So he doesn't need to have his on, and you just put your on. You can set it all up before you get in bed, and you're nice and cozy. Like, my feet are always cold, my hands are always cold. So to get into bed and be able to finally be comfortable and warm in the winter,
I'm grateful in this moment because you've set something exciting for me to go do after this.
See?
Yeah, I'm mad at the fact that you call it your winter boyfriend, but I'm grateful that you told me about your winter boyfriend. So,
see, like, you never know what these conversations will end in, right? These are great things that we learn from each other. So every conversation, every story that we tell, just like my Artandhustle said, like, every story will help, every story will heal, and it's the art of living. It's the art and hustle.
Yeah, look at you! Look at you on brand. On brand.
Also, I just want to say that our conversation was honestly one of the best conversations I've had, where I felt like I was more in tune to myself. Mm-hmm. So I thank you for that, because it was one of the perfect podcasts, because obviously I've just started this, right? But that conversation put honestly everything in alignment of how I was speaking and how I was articulating. I was like, wow, this sounds good. Like, like, I'm like, wow, I'm not that bad at this. Like, like,
not at all, kid. You're
right?
Doing pretty good. From where I'm sitting, you're doing pretty good.
Well, I really appreciate that, because I've had that, and like I said, like, I've always had that vision of writing this book for a long time. And so after speaking to you, I think it became more clear of like, I really need to write the book, and I really want, and my goal has always been that I want to help other people by telling my story. Yeah. Because it's a tough story to tell. And I think I was trying to talk to my therapist, where I was like, listen, I want to be able to tell my story and not cry, because I want to help people, and I don't want to keep rehashing every time I tell this story. So that was like one of the things I wanted to figure out, how to tell the story and not cry.
Well, listen, the story's still being written, and this part of the book, or this first version of the book, is just sharing how you got to where you are. You'll have multiple chapters to add. Yeah. And I say jump out and do it, and buckle up. I know. And the great thing about these podcasts that I'm doing is that the more I talk about it, the more it's helping me figure out how I'm going to write this book too. Because really, it came to me the other day, like, in the essence of who I am, I'm an artist. And I've made many pieces of art during my start of 40 years old, of my evolution and chrysalis phase of changing who I am to be my authentic self. It started with art. And that's where my voice comes through, is my art. And it's always been like that. So I figured out I'm going to make it into art, poetry, essay, visual. Quotes. Oh, quotes for sure, because I love quotes. Like, those hit home for me all the time. So I had a partner say to me once, an ex-partner, why are you watching all of these Oprah and writing all these quotes down? Why do you keep writing all these things down? And I was like, so offended. I'm like, oh my God, you do not know me at all. The fact that you just said that to me. Like, what? I love quotes. I'm an artist, and I like to write things. What do you mean? Why am I writing all of this stuff? Like, oh my God, this is not gonna work. You're gonna have to go. You're like, you ain't it, kid.
You ain't it, kid. This is not,
Yeah,
good.
Not you. It's not you. It's been good. It's been real.
Yeah. I mean, I had a lot of lessons there, but obviously we did not get on the same page of.
Nope. But guess what? Knowing that he wasn't the one helped you to figure out when,
yeah.
I tell singles all the time. I was like, hey man, you can't despise the jacked up relationships, because the jacked up relationships help you figure out who you are and help you figure out who you don't want to be with.
Yeah. And that's something I've told the kids too. Like, I try to teach them now, like, every relationship you go through that didn't work out, you actually learn more and more about yourself. Like, you realize what you need and what you don't need, who you are and who you aren't. Like, all of it's a great lesson,
I agree.
Do you have any last relationship advice that you would like to give our viewers? Or your major takeaways that you've come across lately?
Yeah, I would. I don't know. Given the conversation that we started with, with the unfortunate situation with Will Smith and Chris Rock, I would say in any relationship, compassion and empathy will always be your foundation.
And work on yourself.
And work on yourself.
Point that finger back to yourself is really what everybody should be doing too, right? Like, if this is not working, then what are you doing about it?
Also working on you, because a lot of people, so just to be careful, a lot of people use that as a reason to leave.
Yeah, not leave, but you have to work on you.
Yeah, you got right. Because once you work on you, you'd get a better sense of this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And it's time for me to move on.
Yeah.
And then you're not in reaction to the person, but you're more so pursuing what's for you.
Yeah. And also, like, I feel like people have to learn also, you need to grow together. Like, if you're growing and changing and looking at your stuff, like, you also need to articulate that to your partner, and hopefully your partner can grow with you in all of it also.
Yeah. Or not grow with you, but appreciate your growth, because at some point the shoe's going to be on the other foot. And they may be growing or having a phase, and you may be hitting on stride and killing it.
Yeah.
So compassion and empathy. We have so much compassion and empathy for strangers, for other people. And sometimes the people we have the least amount of compassion for is the person that we sleep with at night.
Yeah. Yeah. So much. I really appreciate it. And it's been great talking to you. And always.